All right, now to our pal Hudson Torrens is here. He's a young Alberta-based blacksmith specializing in kitchen knives. In fact, really inspired by Japanese kitchen knives. Knifewear, we love Japanese kitchen knives. And he's been a part of our kind of circle for a while. We're watching him grow and get better at what he does. It's actually pretty inspiring to watch. And he's just come back from a big trip. Did you hear about it?
Well, he was just in Europe, I think, for a little while, like 3
months or something?
Something,
yeah.
To learn and, I guess, learn his craft from a lot of different blacksmiths in Europe. So.
Well, he's here so he can tell us more about that. And he's brought us 4 knives, and he wants to know what we think about them from a performance perspective. Hudson Torrens, come on down! I don't know that song. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Hudson Torrens.
Hello.
The young blacksmith we just moments ago spoke of, and the maker of these beautiful knives. Dude, what have you been doing?
Yeah, I was in Europe for 2 months. I went all around. I met with makers in France, Austria, and the Netherlands.
Okay.
Yeah, lot in Austria. Most of the stops were in Austria.
Excellent. What were the biggest takeaways that you had from your trip there?
Lots of little tiny things, just like performance, efficiency improvements, different ways to do the same thing, just a little bit better. Like so many little things that just really added up. And since I've been back, I've been just making a bunch of knives differently to experiment with what I've learned, try out different geometries. So I want to know what you guys think of the performance of these different knives.
So you're at a fork in the road with your knife designs, and you want to kind of get our input to see which way you're going to go forward.
Exactly.
So I have a quick question before we go on though. How did you end up getting sort of hooked up with all of these makers in Europe?
I mean, I kind of like knew of them.
Okay.
Well, I knew about them for a long time, and I just kind of sent them messages through Instagram and was like, hey, can I come by? And some of them
dropping
knew
in
me
their
for a
DMs.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Did an online event at some point where I was there, and so I met them online before I went over.
Very cool. But this was all kind of under your own steam. This is just like, you found these people, you made contacts, you took a trip.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so cool. Well, it's super cool to see. I can't wait to chop some stuff.
Well, today Hudson brought 4 different knives here. They have different profiles, maybe different sharpening, different way of sharpens it and stuff like that. So if you want to actually go over and tell us about what are those differences are.
Yeah, so this one here is one of the first test knives I made when I got back. It is the thickest behind the edge with a pretty flat grind and pretty thin at the tip. This one is thinner behind the edge, similar grind, also quite flat. Maybe a bit too thin at the tip, we'll see. This one is one of the more recent ones I did. Very convex geometry, which is like round towards the edge, with hollow forging in the middle, so it thins in the middle, which presented some difficulties for the making.
I was gonna say that increases technical difficulty.
Yeah, quite a bit. And then this one is like flat but slightly convex, more convex at the tip with the Volksliff tip. And
Pardon me?
It's the German grind name for the convex grind.
Oh,
yeah.
What's the word for that in Japanese?
Hamaguri.
Hamaguri. And you called it what?
Volksliff.
Say it again?
Volksliff.
Volksliff. Du hast Volksliff.
And so this one, it doesn't have hollow forging necessarily, but there is texture in the middle to try and help with the food release a little bit. And it's also thinner behind the edge, but a little bit thicker than this one. So a bit more balanced properties I was going for.
And same steel, same heat treating process.
Yep, they're all 52100 with the same heat treating process.
So the differences between them are kind of how you've hammered them and how you've ground them down into a sharp tool.
Yeah, the geometry and then minor difference in the edge profile, but they're all the same base edge profile.
I mean, I can see some of them are a little bit taller than others too, so see what those different profiles, different edge geometries that he created will, I guess, affect the performance of the knife.
All right, I'm stoked. I want to cut stuff.
So what we're gonna do is we pick the ingredients, Well, first we're gonna do sweet potatoes. Then we're gonna cut from 1 to 4 and see how they perform.
Let's do it.
So we have these here, score sheet, first, second, third, and fourth knives. It has a smoothness. It's almost like, you know, when you cut the dense veggies like the sweet potatoes, how smooth it's gonna cut in. Food release, so we have cucumber, so how much it's gonna stick. We have rockability, you know, when you're doing the rocking chop, how smooth it does or how we like it. And we have the tip fineness, or the when you score or when you try to dice the onions, this is how we're gonna test the tip performance. And we're gonna score them 1 to 5. And
5 being the best, 1 being the worst.
yeah.
Okay, so it's from meh to wow. Meh.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Wow, this is really good. Holy fuck, this is good. Is that our scale?
Sure.
Okay, okay, I'm excited. Interesting. Okay. Wow. Naoto, the human mandolin. Did you hear that tip?
Yeah.
Run, cucumber, run. But is it a sweet potato or is it a yam?
It was a lot of fun, hey?
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that I'm working right now, and I just like part of my job is just to like find cool stuff and cut with it, and then like evaluate it.
You don't get scolded at like, it's not the car I told you to do. I don't know. I've never worked in a kitchen, real kitchen, but
Yeah, that'll
probably-
happen. That'll happen.
that'll
Yeah, yeah.
happen,
No one
right?
gave me shit. That's
Yeah.
correct. Yeah, I feel good about that.
Exactly,
actually. Yeah,
right.
thanks. Yeah. We just did 4 different tests: smoothness, food release, rockability, and tip performance. But we also chucked in one at the end. We just called it the fun factor, like that intangible. For some reason, I just like this one more.
Yeah.
Kind of is like a real life application of things. You don't want to get lost in the details of the, you know, the Rockwell hardness and the HRCs and the CRVs and the RAV4s. We're gonna run through these knives, go through the scores. We've got Hudson here to go through it with us a little bit as well. I think something I just asked is like, were they all sharpened? Was the final stone the same? He said yes. It was the 800 grit nanowa stone and a black honing rod. So all sharpened the same, which is cool because there's actually quite a difference between the edges and how they bite into stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, what was the smoothest knife for you?
For me, the smoothest knife was number 2. This was the smoothest going in. Number 4 was really close second, but the if I focus, if I concentrate on how smooth that knife went in to the about equal thickness of the sweet potatoes, it did such great job.
I was the opposite of you, though. In a way, I was number 4, then number 2. Number 2 has a really nice bite and would bite in really nicely into the surface, and then follow through. I just found number 4 it would track straighter, and I was able to get some momentum going a little bit faster, and I felt like it was really dependable. I wasn't like, which way is it? How's it gonna go? It just went straight every time. It was actually quite awesome. The smoothness on number 4 for me.
Very similar to my thoughts on the knives, but there was a few little things that I wasn't expecting.
Food release, it was very close. Well, there was one that actually stood out a little bit for the way I cut, which was number 2.
Hit the backwards chop. That's where I felt more versatile in the way that it was performing well at both.
That's why I found doing these test knives so helpful. Like, these aren't all the test knives. I've made like, I think 15 now.
Oh my
so
God.
I've gone through I've gone through a lot of variations here, but the ones when I did the hollow forging and the convex, I thought they would be the best for food release for sure, but very surprising that it wasn't.
Reality
Yep.
over the concept.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Important to test everything.
Yep.
Okay, rockability.
They all smoothly rocks. It is more of, I guess, like preference, how
like
the
profile preferences.
Yeah. So to rock or not rock is not the question.
no.
How rock
Yeah.
is the question.
And also, it's very. This one is very personal. You know, how you position your body, how
Yeah.
you learn how to cut.
I found number 4 was the most predictable and dependable, that I felt like I could start accelerating, and I wasn't going to be worried about the food grabbing onto the knife and it's sort of gripping or stopping the knife. That's where you end up kind of either doing something weird to make the knife work and then cutting yourself, or you just like cut yourself.
What I found actually is the not only blade profile, how it carves, affect this category, it actually also affected how the bevel is ground as well. Because what I found is very interesting is I have a little bit higher score on 2 and 4, and again, 1 and 2 has very similar profile. 3 and 4 has very similar profile, but I think it's overall how it glide, I guess, onto the food.
Yeah, the main differences was I focused for 3 and 4 to try to have the heel when you're at the right at the back of the knife, it's more parallel to the cutting board. The other 2 are a little bit more of a triangular profile. So
you
the
can
handle's
really
angled
feel
up a
that.
little bit.
And I felt that when I alternated between the forwards and the back chop. 1 and 2 for sure were so much nicer on the back, because when you pulled it back, there was a larger amount of the edge to connect to the board at one time, and then it just sort of cut through better.
Yeah, that also gives 1 and 2 flatter edge profiles because I didn't have to sweep it back as far.
Gotcha. Yeah, nice. Yeah. What about tip performance?
Hudson mentioned that these knives are finished at the same exact stone on the edge, but how it sinks in, but definitely number 2 and also 4 was like, it wants to go down as you just like pull.
Yeah, it does. Especially number 4 was just like, yeah, I'm doing this, man, no problems. Yeah, like it was the confident, most confident feeling. Yeah.
The finished edge or the how toothy the edge is should be the same, because he used the same exact steel and he treated the same way. So only difference maybe just a little bit of a forging difference in thickness and grind. Then I was quite amazed how much difference actually made. And again, 2 and 4 were definitely the winners.
Right at the beginning of using the knives, number 2 would bite into the cutting board so much more than the rest of them. Like you would feel it kind of like as you hit the board, which is really where I was like, wow, okay, this feels different, and were these all sharpened the same?
Number 2 is thinnest behind the edge. All of them have pretty different tip thicknesses, but the thickest ones didn't perform the worst, because this number 4 is definitely thicker than number 3, and number 3 performed significantly worse than number 4, I think. 2, I think, performed really well just because of how thin it is.
Yeah.
But number 4 because of the convexity.
Number 4 overall, although if I add all the points up, number 2 is the winner, but if I add this fun factor, I would actually choose number 4.
Yeah. We've been talking a lot about the knife, how it travels through the food as you're cutting it. And one thing that I think the fun factor grabs onto that's not encapsulated by our other measurements there is frankly something I often say to a customer when I'm helping them decide on a knife, which is, which one feels the best in your hand? Choosing the one that's just gonna feel good to you will make you want to pick it up and use it more. So while there are a few sort of advantages and some finite performance characters over here, I just gravitated to holding this knife. Like it feels like a bit of a grip, and my fingers kind of settle into a little spot, and it's balanced in a way that feels comfortable. I feel really confident with number 4 in my hand, and it performed really well.
That's it, right? I was using number 2 and 4, deciding which one I actually like it better. I was exclusively using number 2 and 4, and see, it felt so much better in my hand. And if I were to choose a knife, I would go for number 4.
Same, absolutely. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Number 4 is our favorite. Hudson, can you make a stack for us, please?
Yep.
And Hudson, can you make them for our spring garage sale, which you've been to?
Yep.
Yeah, that's a real fun time. We get all kinds of stuff. Naoto's about to get on a plane to go to Japan, where he's gonna bring back a whole bunch of weird stuff. Not weird, just stuff we don't normally carry, and we blow it out at the garage sale. hopefully we'll have some Hudson stuff there too.
Yeah.
We often feature some new, unique prototypes, young blacksmiths, and yeah, you fit into that category.
Yep.
Awesome. Another thing that really helped with my time in Europe is I'm much faster now. So
Mach schnell.
making things more consistently and faster, that's probably the biggest improvement I made. So
Cool.
big batches are more doable.
Okay, if you want to get a Hudson Torrens knife, you'll be able to do that in just a couple days. The garage sale will start May 12th and run to the 19th. We're going to have those at that sale. And sometimes you just need a knife that was handmade in Calgary, Alberta. That's going to be a great time to get it. We look forward to seeing you there. If you want more descriptions and more details, they'll be in the link below. I know from watching the knife and listening to him, I have a bias already as to what to expect.